It's Sunday night at 9 o'clock. That means the Kaufman Corner podcast is streaming live with you. As always, David Lesky, Soren Petro. We're talking Royals baseball, talking Royals draft. We'll talk some home run derby about Jack Caglione as well as we get towards the end of the show. We might even look ahead to the second half, but probably it's going to be all about the Royals. Zion Rose from Louisville. Did the Royals get it right with him at pick number 6? It was on no one's radar screen. Talk about what Keith Law thought about the Kansas City Royals draft. Taylor Rabe at pick number 30. Is that where the money's going? Jack Slightom, high school right-hander. Maxx Yehl, Dominic Battista, the draft as a whole. We will break that down right here, right now on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. As we talk a little draft here, David, let's start with this. Nobody was thinking that the Royals were going to be looking with pick number 6 for a college outfielder from Louisville. I didn't see Zion Rose's name anywhere. Let's just start with what your overall first reaction was when you heard it. We obviously all thought signability, right? And immediately a lot of Royals fans would go, Hunter Dozier will be, as that's the last one that was in extreme signability. Or actually, the lefty high school kid.
Yeah, Mazzucato. Yeah,
Mazzucato. Neither one of them will thrill Royals fans. What was your initial reaction when you heard it?
Initial reaction was, what? Because what happened, and this is interesting, is everybody thought it was Eric Booth. And it sounds like the Royals shifted at the last minute, which we can get into why I think they did. I don't know why they did, but it shocked me because, again, I'd heard Zion Rose's name before. And what I generally heard was, hey, the Royals really like him. He's probably not going to be there at 30. And that's what I had heard. And that was it. It was like, okay, well, if they like him, he's not going to be there at 30. So he's just not going to get picked. But, well, they popped him at 6 and here we are. I will say, well, what was your reaction first?
Well, I immediately was thinking, okay, they're playing the signability game. Are they getting it right? And let's see what they're getting in this player because, you had said before, we'd kind of talked about this, and you'd said before, like, you don't like messing around at pick number 6 on the signability side of things. And I tend to agree with you. I tend to think when you're up that high, you should be able to identify a player that is definitely going to be a good ball player, and you should go ahead and take him because I think when you get down there, yeah, there are the Jacob Misiorowskis that was clearly signed above slot that come through, but you look down through the money. You'll in Jacob Misiorowski's class, there's 2 or 3 other guys that haven't done squat yet, who are signed for way over slot. So, it's more complicated than we think. I know that part of it is it's kind of like a trade. It takes 2 to tango. You have to have a player that's willing to sign for the amount that you're willing to pay him to try to make it all work. So there is that part of the equation that it's not just like, well, they decided they didn't, they couldn't make up their mind amongst the next 3 outfielders because 3 outfielders, it's going to be really easy to track, what else they could have done because 3 outfielders went bang, bang, bang right after them. All right. So they obviously didn't love any of those 3 outfielders or could not get a deal done for an amount. And it might be the players just like, I don't want to play in Kansas City, or it might be the players like, I'm worth way more than that, or the agent's trying to make a name for himself, whatever it might be. I do think we need to understand that it's not just a matter of, well, they were too cowardly to pick somebody, so they just went, okay, we'll take this guy who we think is close, and then we'll splash more money around later. I mean, I think we oversimplify it. I think they've got multiple plans of how to attack the draft when it starts. Then the picks that go before them start to dictate where you're going to go, and then you have to put a strategy together when you go on the clock. And so I feel like something. I wonder if this was plan C or plan D, and I'm going to be very intrigued to see what happens.
Yeah, and we'll also say too, if you look at the first round, the Giants are public enemy number one right now for the Royals, I think, because I think they wanted Jackson Flora. Giants took him at 4. Okay, so they have changed their plan. I think they wanted Carson Boleman at 30. Giants took him at 29. So the Giants jumped them on 2 picks, which it happens, whatever. So yeah, I think that they had to switch their strategy a little bit, and I think they got caught up a little bit. What I will say, and this is where there gets to be nuance that a lot of people don't care to dive into. I think they got a good player. I think Zion Rose is a good player who they picked. I think they picked him at a spot that he didn't necessarily deserve to be picked in, so there's layers here, right? Because they added a good player to the organization. I would guess that when prospect rankings come out, Chorio's still going to be number 1. I think Hammond's still going to be number 2. Rose is probably 3 or 4. It's either Shields 3 and Rose 4, or Rose 3 and Shields 4. So they added a top 5 prospect, which with the number 6 pick, you want to add your number 1 prospect. Honest, unless you've got a top 40, top 50s, maybe top 60, I guess. I'd have to actually look at the numbers. You want to add your number 1 prospect, but they did add a good player. I just think they took him too early. They got too cute. Now, I will also say, and what I liked, it's so quick. Like I wish this podcast was not today. I wish it was like Wednesday to give a little more time just to talk to people and break it down. But what I will say is I've talked to 3 different scouts in 3 different organizations. I have no interest in talking with somebody from the Royals about this because they're going to love the pick. You're not going to get a real answer. I want to talk to other people. 3 different teams had him top 12 or 13 on their draft board. So is it as, I think we look at MLB Pipeline and BA and all this and their rankings are relevant 100%. I think that they're just numbers. And I believe that the average fan, and myself included, I don't know enough about the draft, and I can't know enough about the draft. I've got too much going on. You've got too much going on to be able to dive into the draft the way that people who are paid to dive into the draft can do it. It's really easy to look at those rankings and say, well, God, this sucks. I think that there's more to it. And I think that Rose, one thing that was brought up to me by 2 different scouts is he's better than what the public rankings said.
Well, the top somebody.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think just to add texture to what you're saying, I don't mean to slow your roll there, but because somebody in the comments was saying, I think they thought he was a top 15 player. And I wanted to put him up there and give him credit here, but it's gone by a little bit. Anyway, and that's what Keith Law said. Keith Law said if he's healthy, he's a top 15 player. And so if he's a top 15 player and you took him at 6, and if you're going to pay him, they're probably going to pay him like 15. That's probably what they're going to do. They probably said, listen, this is where we had you. You're going to go later if we don't take you. So if you'll sign for this, we'll take you. And then we're going to put some more money around. They just need to be right. I mean, you can still go signability and get it right. Sure. And that's what they have to do here. They have to get it right because too many times, like I said, the Frank Mazzucato and the Hunter Dozier thing are too prevalent on Royals fans' minds. And he can't be a throwaway. And Sean Manaea bailed out the Hunter Dozier part of the equation, didn't bail out the contract. But, I just –
and Carter Jensen's kind of bailed out on the Mazzucato side too, which again, but you can still take a good player. You don't have to take a bad player just to sign somebody better.
Well, let's be clear. There needs to be a Manaea or a Carter Jensen come out of this draft as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to hit with one of these other guys that you're going to splash money around. And if the kid, if Zion can play left field, and listen, they definitely need outfielders. They know it. They know they haven't developed outfielders. How many outfielders have they developed in the last 20 years? Since Carlos Beltran, David DeJesus.
Yeah.
And who? I mean, don't tell me Alex Gordon, because they didn't develop him as an outfielder.
Gerard Dyson.
I mean, yeah.
Truly.
I mean,
yeah.
It's you know, this has to work, right? Or the other drafts around it have to work. I mean, you're going to have a bad draft, and so I don't want to say this draft of itself, but this draft with the other drafts, you know, the 3 Brian Bridges drafts now have to be producing talent for this organization. They can't do it without it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you know, I hate to say it's what we're here to do is to talk about the draft that happened 24 hours ago, and before. I mean, I don't. How many of these players did you know before yesterday that the Royals picked? I'd looked into. I can count here. 1, 2, 3, like 6 of them, maybe. You know, and so like I don't want to pretend like I'm the perfect expert here. So a lot of the draft stuff, unfortunately, is we'll see how it goes. But you're right; they need to get it right. What I have a question about, and we texted about this earlier, and I haven't gotten an answer on this. How, you know, we look at let's go back to the rankings, and I'll use Rose, and I'll use his MLB pipeline ranking of 30. How close is 30 to 15 for them? Right, like, you know what I mean? Like, is the gap between 15 and 30 the same as the gap between 1 and 15, or
that comes back to your point about being 6th. Like, if they had done this, if they had fallen where they were supposed to fall in the draft at like 16 or wherever they were going to be, 17, and they did this, okay, fine, right? If he's 30th. Now, Keith Law had him. Where did Keith have him? Keith had him higher than that.
Keith Law had him 22. Fangraphs had him 17. Yeah. ESPN had him 18. Keith Law had him 22.
Okay, so let's say he's anywhere in that range, right? 18 to 30, okay, is where he goes. Clearly, the Royals think he's more like 18 or even better.
Sure.
I would say this. Eric Booth, the high school outfielder, went 7. Drew Burris, the Georgia Tech outfielder, went 8. And A.J. Gracia, the outfielder from Virginia, went 9th, right? In his name, or did somebody have a typo?
No.
I mean, because they're just Gracia. Names on a piece of paper. Okay.
Every time I see it, I think it's wrong, but it's Gracia.
Yeah. And so those 3, he needs to be better than 2 of them, right? Yeah. Like if you looked at it and said,
as good as, you know.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many players can you put side by side and you go, it's an exact tie.
Right. You're right. I mean, I think he's got to be on par with and all of them. 2, you know,
right?
Maybe one of them outperforms him. He's got to be at least on par with the other 2.
Well, I think one of them will be a turd. I think one of them will be pretty good, and one of them will be a fringy guy. Like, that's what usually happens with 3 guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 2 of them will be good. One of them will bomb. It can't be that. It can't be Zion. It can't be Zion Rose. That can't be the guy who bombs. Okay, because you had 3 other outfielders. The rest of and I don't know this. I haven't read any stories on tracking baseball drafts, but I know on tracking, Sam McDowell's talked about the football drafts, that the consensus board generally does a pretty good job, right? And so when you go way away from the consensus, you're out on an island, right? Well, the consensus of what happened was this said that there were 3 out there, you know, basically they just took 4 outfielders all in a row. You can't have the 4th best one. You can't do it. Right. You can't take him 6 and be the 4th best unless he's a Hall of Famer, and they're not all going to be Hall of Famers. So I have no problem with this strategy. This strategy would be celebrated by many. It is celebrated by Keith Law. He likes the draft that they did. We'll get to the other players part of the equation in a minute. But I just think for the betterment of the organization and for the fan confidence level, at a time that I think it's important to have fan confidence when you're heading into a new ballpark and, you know, going to be asking a lot of money from taxpayers one way or another. Okay. It's ultimately going to come, whether it's plumbing everything and wiring it and changing the streets and doing all that, you know, the taxpayers are going to be coming in on all this because they fund the government. So whatever different places it's coming from, it's ultimately coming from the people. You need to give them confidence. And so this Zion Rose needs to hit from day one. He can't come in there and be like, well, we're changing his swing. If I hear they're changing his swing, or he spends the whole, you know, the rest of the year in complex ball where there are no numbers, I'm going to lose my mind. At that point, I will lose my mind.
You've got to put it, and I don't even care if you put him in low A. You got to put him in full season ball.
Yes.
You want to send him to the complex. They haven't played in a month. That's fine. Send him to the complex until August 1. You got to get him at least to Columbia, if not Quad Cities. He has to play full season ball this year. And I think Caglione did. So at least there's a history of that with a college pick, top 10, going into full season ball. They do it more with high school guys. So I think we'll probably see him play. And especially too, he had a season not cut short. It started late because of the ankle injuries. So they might want to get him extra bats. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if he goes to the Arizona Fall League this year, actually. We'll see about that here in a couple months, but they need to get him in full season ball. I was just about to get to that because we need to see something. And the one thing that's consistent with Rose, and I appreciate this, nobody questions his ability to hit. And so everybody, even if they're like, hey, look, some of the reason why he's a little bit lower on some of the rankings, a little bit higher on the others, is the ones that are lower think he is a fringe left fielder, whereas like Keith Law, I think, mentioned that he thinks he might be able to play center field. So, I think that makes a difference too. But again, we'll see how it goes. They need to get it right, though.
Yeah, they have to get it right on this pick. And last thing on him is, well, first of all, would you have taken one of those guys? Is there an outfielder you'll stick your flag in the ground and say this is who they should have taken, or anybody else?
I don't know. I think I like my problem with Drew Burress is the history of guys his size being elite is less than you'd like. But I don't know enough about the player to say I don't care that he's 5'9", and if he says he's 5'9", he's probably 5'8". I did not want AJ Gracia. I've seen enough questions about his swing that and the Braves reached there too. I think he was like 19 on Pipeline and 20 something NBA. So they reached at number 9 also. Booth was the one who and maybe it's just because I heard his name so much because I'd heard Flora or Booth for so long that I thought I was in on him, but it could just be because I spent so much time looking at him. And the reality is when you start to look at these players, all you see are highlights. You're not watching the 0-for-3 game where he swings at 7 curveballs in the dirt. So I like Eric Booth. I probably would have taken him. I would have. I'll go back to what I said. I love the fact that Zion Rose is in the organization. I wish it was at 30 and not 6.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best way to put it. But if they work this right and they get it right, and Brian Bridges deserves the chance to do it however he wants to do it, because to this point he's done well, and they end up with 2 legitimate first-round draft picks, and none of us are going to be complaining, right? That we'll all be excited. We'll take a quick break here, and we'll come back. We'll start getting into where the rest of that money is going to be spent. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Your parking lot says a lot about your business. Cracks, potholes, faded striping, and damaged concrete can create safety concerns and leave the wrong impression with customers. Gann Asphalt and Concrete helps Kansas City businesses protect their properties with asphalt paving, seal coating, crack filling, parking lot striping, concrete work, and repairs. Their experienced crews deliver quality workmanship and dependable service on every project. Whether you need routine maintenance or a complete parking lot overhaul, Gann is ready to help you. Get started today with a free estimate at GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, let's talk about where they're going to go with the rest of the money. It starts with the next pick. By the way, I actually, let me start with this. Here's what Keith Law said. We wanted to give you what his write-up was on this. The Kansas City Royals played it a little differently this year but I also love their draft. They took Louisville outfielder Zion Rose at 6, and he'll probably come in under slot.
This is day one only. Sorry to interrupt. This is day one only.
Just day one. This is him talking about day one. Thank you, though, for pointing that out. He's one of the best pure hitters in this draft class and a sneaky good athlete for a former catcher. Then they took right-hander Taylor Rabe, a late rising starter from Mississippi who could move pretty quickly through the minors. Their third-round pick was left-hander Maxx Yehl, who came back from Tommy John surgery to become the West Virginia Mountaineers' best starter this year. At worst, he projects as a good reliever. The money they might save on Rose and Yehl, a redshirt junior, will go to the second-round pick, John Slightom, one of the hottest names in my conversations with scouts the last few weeks. He's a high school righty with a very fast arm, a big frame, and a good characteristics on his pitches. His high school outfielder Dominic Battista, their fourth-round pick, is a sleeper among scouts who have the Chicago area, as he's a little undersized, but some folks love the swing and potential for power. That's what Keith Law said about day one for the Kansas City Royals. So that makes me feel good because I think Keith Law is the best at this. So when Keith Law likes it, I'm happy. The question is, is the money going? Where's the money going in your mind?
Well, I have not confirmed this, so I wish I could have. Again, if they could do the draft a couple days before our podcast, that would be really helpful for us to be able to get some better information. Come on. But from my understanding, it sounds like Rabe is going to be just a little bit over slot, but Slightom is going to be like 1.2, 1.3 over slot, and Dominic Battista as well. I got this one recently too, about 500K over slot. So sounds like that's
which is interesting. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to point this out because if you look at the Royals draft on MLB.com, they give their rankings, and you'll see Zion Rose 30th, Taylor Rabe 40th, Jack Slightom 89, Maxx Yehl 217, and then Dominic Battista no ranking. But that's where the Keith Law comment, and you talked with some people also who were really high on him, even though he's not listed in the MLB pipeline top 250.
Yeah, there were a couple. One scout I talked to sent me a profanity-laced text about Brian Bridges taking the guy they wanted their team to take with Bautista. Okay. I don't know if they wanted to take him in the fourth, but he's really interesting to me. You know, to talk about the rankings real quick, like, Taylor Rabe, 40 on pipeline, 26 on BA, though. Keith Law had him 29th. ESPN had him 48th. So it's kind of all over the board with Slightom. You said 89 with MLB. ESPN had him at 60. Keith Law didn't rank him. He only went to 100. So he could have been 101. It's possible, which is where BA had him. And then, Dominic Battista was 329 on Baseball America, 260 on Just Baseball. If you guys follow them, they do a really nice job with their draft. But yeah, it's that's where they're going to spread the money. Rabe is really interesting to me because one person I talked to said, because he's a draft eligible sophomore, so there's a lot of he could go back to school and get drafted and then go back to school again, which gives him a ton of leverage. He almost has high school leverage at that rate because of what he did this year. Somebody said, look, he's looking like he could be a top 10 pick next year, so you're going to have to pay him, which it sounds like they didn't go that over slot for him. So I don't know how accurate that was, but
that's which pitcher?
That was Rabe, Taylor Rabe.
That's Rabe.
So, because he could go back to Ole Miss next year, and he'd still be a junior. He's draft eligible sophomore. And kind of what I've heard about him, throws a ton of strikes, touched 100, good cutter. The spin rate isn't great, but he's got a really good tilt on his pitches, which kind of negates the issue with spin rate. So a lot of people really like that pick. I think he was picked in the 30 is about the right spot for him. That's perfectly acceptable to me. Slightom, I think, was a little bit early, but also everybody I've talked to is like, we probably wouldn't have taken him with that pick at 56 or 58 or 72 or whatever they were. But they're like, we understand it because he's 98 with his fastball. He does have really good spin. His changeup actually shows some upside. He's got deception from a low arm slot. And even though he's enrolled in Cincinnati, people thought he'd take a lot of money to get, and it sounds like he's going to at about what did I have his slot about $3 million to sign him with a slot value of 1.7. So it's going to take a lot if that number is right. But These are interesting picks. And like Maxx Yehl, this is interesting too. And I think that to go back to the rankings again, I'll just give you his. The Royals picked him at 91. Keith Law had him at 83. Baseball America was 127. Pipeline was 217. ESPN was 161. It just gets all over the board at some point, and it's hard to you got to be able to. No, you don't have to be able to. You just have there's a lot of noise to cut through with these rankings, and so I do think they did a nice overall job. I just come back to the fact I still think they got too cute, which we'll see if they get penalized for it or not.
You think they got too cute just based upon no knowledge of what it was going to take to sign anyone else, right? Because all the information you're getting is about these guys, not
right, and that's fair.
Yeah, I don't want to say they got too cute because I'll tell you they got too cute when I hear that. Oh no, we could have signed him for this or that, signed somebody else and got him at slot or whatever. But I am intrigued. I want to know. I mean, I think they really have to do a good job of not necessarily publicly. They're going to publicly say that they love all their players, right? Yes. But I almost feel like they need to be doing some under the table. Like, this is what was going on. This guy wouldn't sign. This guy wouldn't play in Kansas City. This guy, was once this ridiculous number. I'd like to hear where it is. And I think the idea of like, listen. We all have our, like, I'll tell you, which tackle I like in every class? The tallest, the heaviest, and the longest arms. That's the offensive tackle that I end up gravitating towards all the time. But there's 5 of them. I don't have any idea which one's going to be better. Like I'm not qualified to sit there. There are some that when they get up to practice, and okay, I can watch a little. But I mean, I think with these, you're talking about, especially when you get to the high school kids.
I know.
Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? And so
they're not even fully grown.
Well, I will say that, I think there are usually a handful, anywhere of 4 to 10 guys that are definitively better than anybody else. Maybe this was a year that there were only 4. And if that's the case, then you're just, whichever tackle that everybody, the consensus, whichever hitter that the consensus agrees are, okay, these guys should be the first group. Then you take whichever one of it and pay them less and be able to put more money on other players that you like. That is actually a very smart analytical move. If you've proven to yourself time and time again that you can figure out where the buckets of players all belong. If you do a pretty good job of that, and you're like, listen, there ain't any difference between the guy we're going to take here. We can take any of those 4 outfielders. We'll be fine. This one we got to work with a little bit. This one's more of a leadoff hitter. This one's more of a right fielder. Whatever the variations are, but their chances of making the big leagues are all the same. And you get this guy for the least amount of money. That is smart.
Yeah,
that is smart. But when do you ever hear a team tell you that, like, well, we don't really know which one? I mean, they're all kind of the same.
Look, they're the same, so we just picked the one that took the least money.
I mean, you're paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend all year to make a list, right? And so I hear it all the time, and I've heard it so much from Brett Beach that now I'm rebelling against it, where he goes, look, you put all this time into it, let's go up and get the player that we agree in. Well, but history tells us that's not smart, right? Like, if the Royals could trade up or down, what would they have done in this draft?
I bet they would have traded down. If you're taking
right
a guy who is consensus,
and what do we all want? And just sorry, I know I've interrupted you. This is the 5th time I've interrupted you, but what do we do? What is the majority of smart football fans when you go, well, what do you want the Chiefs to do? Trade down.
Yeah,
that's what they always want the Chiefs to do. They want them to trade down, and in reality, that's what the Royals did here.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did, and let's. I mean, we're going back to Zion Rose here, but let's look at Zion Rose versus Drew Burress. Let's just use those two. If the Royals believe that Drew Burress is 5% better than Zion Rose, but Zion Rose took 20% less and it allowed them to get other guys they wanted, I don't have a problem with that strategy. But again, they just have to be right. And that's what it comes down to. He has to be 5% worse and not 50% worse at 25% less. Like that's what it comes down to. And I do think a lot of this draft was, look, there are 8 to 10 guys who are kind of in the same bucket. And if you believe this guy's a little better or that guy's a little better, take that guy. And look, if you're wrong, you might pay for it with your job. and
Right.
maybe you should. But I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I don't know. I overall, like, if we wanted to give I'm not going to give a draft grade. And I thought Keith Law said it best. He's like, I don't grade drafts because that's irresponsible. And I'm not going to give it a grade, but like, I think they did a perfectly fine job. I just would like more than perfectly fine with the number 6 pick. And that's where my issue comes. But again, there's context, and it's the context is they got good. I think they did well with the players they selected. I just think they could have. I would have gone a different strategy. I also would have done a different thing in 2014 and 2015, and they went to one World Series and won another, and I didn't. So I'm not proud enough to think that my way is the only way. I just don't agree with what they did in this realm, and we could both be right for what it's worth. And I don't know. It's hard to get too upset when you look at a number of flawed players. And I mean, I like what they did. And the other thing that we have to keep in mind, there's one name I want to make sure we get to, Hudson Devon, who they picked in the 19th round. The 19th round is notoriously we're going to throw a dart at a high school player, and if somebody doesn't sign, we'll have a little extra money. And look, Hudson Devon is committed to it's Alabama, right? I believe, yeah, he's Alabama commit.
He went in the night. If people don't know, he went in the 19th round. He's ranked 138 by Pipeline.
138 Pipeline, 111 Baseball America. He's a legitimate prospect. He didn't get drafted probably because of his number, but look, let's round it all out. If Zion Rose takes, his slot value is 7.75 roughly million, just a little bit under that. If he signs for 5, let's say, and my numbers are right on Rabe, Slightom, and Battista, and they've already gone over by, what is that, about 1.9 million. They've got some money to play with if they want to sign Hudson Devon. And then all of a sudden you're looking at 7 guys in the top 150 in a draft, which is tough to do. So Devon's an interesting name to look at. I think he goes to school. Most of those guys down that far in the draft end up going to school, but every so often, and from my understanding, they think there's a path. So it's to sign him. They think there's a path to sign him. Maybe this and this has to happen, which makes it unlikely. But if they can get him signed, all of a sudden you go from, okay, I 100% see the plan. Now let's make sure it works.
The other thing I'd like to mention is that they're messing around with a lot of guys that have already been hurt.
Yeah. Although I don't know how much you look. I was looking at a lot of it. Like, most of the pitchers have had Tommy John in this draft. It seems like everybody I clicked on, everybody I was looking at to read descriptions over the last week, 10, 12 days, it's like, oh, he had Tommy John in 2023, Tommy John in 24. Oh, he had shoulder surgery. Everybody's gotten hurt. And so I think that I'm sure there are a bunch of guys who haven't, but it just feels like everybody I looked at had an injury history.
Yeah. Any other, sleepers that you like, that's in the mix, out of this?
Not to be like an elite player or anything, but I thought Tanner Griffith in the 11th round is interesting. He's kind of just a hitter. And he's committed to TCU on a transfer. So, like, not just a mid-major college guy who nobody wanted. Lance Hartley is interesting too, because he's transferring to South Carolina if he doesn't get signed, which they think they'll get him signed. And I did love, I don't know if you read the press release that the Royals sent out yet, but I'm going to get his name right. Hang on. What pick was this? The 14th round pick, Banks Wickersham from Fort Dorchester High School in South Carolina, owns his own landscaping business. I thought that was a nice touch that they mentioned in the press release. I will also say, if your name is Banks Wickersham, you 100% have a summer home in the Hamptons.
Yeah. I like that. I think it's I want to see some of their pitching advance, right? Like, I want to start feeling like, we've seen that with the guys that have been coming in under Bridges. Like, I'm actually more optimistic that this pitching will move forward just because of the way that Shields and Churio are progressing, and Lampkin was too before he got hurt. Like, I feel like they have a better eye for the pitching. And so when they take a high school kid, I feel like for sure that they really see something in him. So I'm intrigued by that. You know, that is one thing where I do feel better that like this, they can develop pitching, and that so that some of these arms will be coming up and will be making a difference.
I'll be curious to see who starts to move up over the next, I don't know, 3 weeks in the organization. Like, look at Steven Zobak, who has missed a lot of the season with injury, and missed a lot of last year with injury. He's pitched 2 really good games in a row. Does he go to AAA? Is he a guy they say let's get a look, and then you can start to move? Does David Shields get bumped up? He struck out, I can't remember how many games, like 10 or more, or 7 or more, or something, like 10 straight games, something like that. Does he get moved up to AA, or do they want to keep him with Churio? Do they move Lombardi up? Because eventually with some of these guys, I mean, if you look at this list, they picked 21 players and 1, 2, 3, 4 high school guys. So that means 17 college players who, again, they've tended to put in full season ball eventually. They're going to have to move some guys up because they're not going to have spots. And so that will be really interesting to see. And again, you and I both agree AA is the time when you start to pay attention. You go, okay, they could debut at any time if they're in AA. And high A, I mean, it's great. I want to see them progress, but I want to see Shields get 5 starts in AA this year. You know, I don't think Churio has to necessarily. He's still so young, but let's get these guys moving up and see how they do in the upper levels. Hopefully they can get Lampkin back. I still don't know what his injury is. Nobody has said. It's undisclosed everywhere. I have not heard a word. I don't know if you have, but which is either really concerning or nothing. There's no in between. But yeah, I do think that the guys progressing from this draft also is very interesting for the future of the Royals, because there are a couple of guys who I think could help the team next year, but they've got to get moving in the system or else they can't. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it. All right. We want to take another quick break here, and we will talk a little bit about the home run derby. It's going to have a familiar face for Kansas City Royals fans. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at Italian Delight. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. If your property needs asphalt or concrete work, Gann Asphalt and Concrete is ready to help you. From parking lots and drive lanes to sidewalks, curbs, patching, seal coating, crack filling, and repairs. Their experienced crews handle projects of all sizes throughout the entire Kansas City metro. Whether you're fixing problem areas or planning a larger paving project, Gann focuses on quality workmanship and dependable service from start to finish. No matter what shape your pavement is in today, they can help improve it. Request a free estimate and learn more at GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, let's talk Jack Caglione and the home run derby. You've mentioned, we've talked about it, I know, on the radio show. I don't know if we did it in here in the podcast, but that this could actually, he could be the guy that maybe benefits from the home run derby, that gets him swinging for the fences, gets the launch angle where you want it. If he gets into a rhythm and can go a few rounds and starts having the success, maybe he comes back with that kind of approach at the plate and takes another step.
Yeah, I mean, he's done better lifting the ball this year, obviously, and the numbers, his numbers are solid. I mean, coming into today at a 121 OPS plus, like, that's good. I'm not complaining about that. But I mean, he had a home run drought for a little bit. He had that. Most of it came in 3 weeks at the start of June. And he'd struggled a little bit. I think it's interesting that he started taking home run derby batting practice on the field on Friday and immediately hit a home run. and had 4 hits this weekend after he'd been struggling. I guess he had hit in 4 in a row coming in. So he's going to the break on a 7-game hitting streak now. Hit the ball over the wall on Friday after he started the home run derby batting practice. I think it can work for him. And there are a handful of guys who have just caught fire after the home run derby too. I mean, I think about Bobby in 24 did. There are some others who have gone crazy. And it's funny. We talked on Thursday. I still haven't finished the spreadsheet of of 24 and 25, but of 24 guys who, and it's not 24 different guys because a few guys multiple times, but 24 home run derby participants over 3 years, 21, 22, and 23. 13 raised their slugging percentage in the second half. 11 decreased, obviously, but I think it was only 4 decreased significantly. Most of them stayed within a standard deviation. So, yeah, I think Caglianone's the type of guy who gearing your swing for this could actually help him do what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, and I think, I think just the chance to go get there. Go be around those guys, be included with those guys, watch how the other guys hit. I mean, I think it reminds me of Tyreek Hill going to the Pro Bowl as a kick returner, right? And he went and he talked to guys and how they prepped and how they worked as a wide receiver, and he made himself into a great wide receiver. I mean, I think that was a big influence on him. That's kind of what this is. He's kind of going as a kick returner. Right? You go to the home run derby, you're not really an all-star, but you're with the guys. I mean, you're an all-star when it comes to your power, and you're one of the young guys young enough and willing to say yes to it, because obviously all the big boys, now it's becoming like the dunk contest. We're not going to do it.
Right.
Which is irritating. But, I do think it has a chance to really maybe shape his view of how watch how the other guys prepare. Just watch the little things that he can pick up and talk to all those guys. It cannot hurt.
Yeah, watch Bryce Harper swing. Like that. Kyle Schwarber. Yes, I want him to be Kyle Schwarber. Bryce Harper has the kind of violent swing that Jack Caglianone does. I find out how he keeps that in check, because he does. Yeah. Bryce Harper does. He has slumps. Everybody has slumps, but he gets out of them. And Jack Caglianone he's gotten out of slumps. Good for him, but get out of them faster. Find out from these other players. You're right. That Tyreek Hill comp is a great one, because it is an opportunity to learn from these guys. It's why I liked him in the WBC, and I didn't care that he was away from the team. And I mean, the team Italy wasn't quite as star-studded as USA or Dominican or Venezuela or whatever, but I like those guys getting the chance to be there. Bobby at the WBC in 2023, I think, was a really good opportunity for him to work behind Trey Turner and see that. It's the same thing. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it does too. And how do you think he's going to perform?
I don't. We'll see. Obviously, we don't know. But why would he not be able be one of the top contenders to win it?
Well, if his dad can't pitch, I'll give you one reason.
Yes, that's. But I forget. Assuming the pitching is good, which we don't know, obviously. But he's got as much power as anybody. You've seen him take batting practice. I've seen him take batting practice. It is impressive. I mean, this is the time when game power doesn't matter. It's all about raw power. So, there's no reason he can't win this home run derby. I don't know that I predict that he will, but I think. I mean, I'm looking at the participants right now. You've got, what is it? Schwarber, Harper, Murakami. Let's see, Jordan Walker, Contreras, Ben Rice, and Caminero. I mean,
Caminero, Murakami, and Schwarber are beasts.
They all have insane power, but I don't know that anybody has more raw power than Jack Caglianone. And they're better at game power right now, but that's not what this is. And I think he's got a chance to take it.
Yeah, I think I think he has the frame to be able to have a nice, easy swing and not wear himself out as much as Kyle Schwarber is one of my favorite players. I mean, I love every piano mover that plays baseball. Every guy who looks like a softball player out there. So he's one of my favorite players. But he should have that Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton ability to just this is how many I need. Okay, I can get to that number and go beyond. Which, by the way, can I make my annual? Could we get the rules? Can we settle on some freaking rules for whatever the hell this is going to be on how it's going to work? I can not change it every year so we can start having some records. I don't know what it is. I'm sure it'll be different. I haven't even looked at it, but some years it's like, the top two advance and somebody does. Now it's head to head, and no, it's not head to head. It is head to head. Like, just set on some goddamn rules that we can have, and then we can have some records. Because I think you actually might be able to get some guys to come back if it's like he's the career home run derby home run holder. Like, if there were things to shoot for, I think you could if we'd settle on the rules.
I don't think you will, though, because I don't think they're not doing 4 minutes anymore. You have 4 minutes hit home runs. Here are the rules, just real quick. No timer and no quote unquote outs. Round 1, you get 20 swings. Round 2, you get 15 swings. The final,
so it is different, right?
Swings.
It is just
it is different. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And
it always
swing
is
counts toward a player's allotment, homer or not. So the most home runs you could get in this format is 50. That's not true. I should have read all the bullet points. If you homer on your last swing in any round, you keep going until you do not homer.
Okay.
There is no bonus round and no bracket for the first round. And tiebreakers are home run distance for round 1 and 3 swing offs for rounds 2 and 3.
Okay.
So I guess theoretically you can hit infinite home runs.
Yeah. So stick with it. But then make these the rules and don't change them. I mean, I do think the last home run, keeps buying you another one. I think that could be huge for Caglione.
If he gets in a groove, the thing about Caglione is, I think that if he gets in a groove, he may be still hitting by the time we record next week. If he doesn't, he may hit 2 home runs. I feel like there's not a lot of middle ground for him.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I think it's either going to be the moment's going to be too big, or his dad's not any good at it, or
although Pete Alonso said his dad is great at it, so we'll see.
Okay. We'll find out. All right. Then what do you want to see? We'll close with this. What do you want to see now? Because now that the draft is over, they got to get everybody signed for the next week or two, but that should be done by people below. Now they can focus fully on the trade deadline. So what do we want to see? What do we want to start hearing when they get done with the All-Star break?
Honestly, I want to see them jump the market, and they're not going to. So, I can my wishes are not going to be held. But the reason that I want to see them jump the market, look at the teams. I'm trying to pull up the standings right now because I want to get this exactly right. But in the American League, there are of the 15 teams, 13 of them are either in a playoff spot or within 6.5 games. In the National League, 11 are within 4 games or in a playoff spot, which there are like the Giants are sellers, the Mets are sellers, the Rockies are sellers, the Angels are sellers, the Royals are sellers. I think the A's should be. I'm not sure that they have a lot to sell because they're mostly on their core guys. You are one of only 6 for sure sellers. Jump that market. Don't let somebody say, if somebody wants Michael Wacha, and I don't think they're going to trade him. If somebody wants Michael Wacha, do it today. Maybe let him pitch in the All-Star game as a Royal. Do it on Wednesday, let's say. And don't let a team say, well, maybe we could get Skubal. No, the Tigers aren't trading right now. So take advantage of that while the Tigers are not trading, and have Michael Wacha be the 2nd best starter moved instead of the 7th best starter moved. So I want to see them jump the market. They're not going to, but that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I would like to see them be aggressive. I do fear that they're unwilling to part with, the things that will actually bring them return. I think we're going to see some, John Schreibers and things like that going. Like I will genuinely.
Go, Thomas will go. I'm not sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I interrupted you this time. Well, I'm not sure Strom will go at this point.
Yeah, I don't know that he's got value right now. But I mean, I don't think we're going to see Wacha. Lugo's not going anywhere. No one wants to buy in on that right now. And that's that's a whole nother story about, we were both on Team Move Him last year and they didn't do it. And, I don't, they're not going to move Wacha. Somebody said trade Vinny was up here. which immediately got Vinny has no value. If Vinny shows he has power, but I don't think he's going to show that he has power. I do think Vinny Pasquantino has value because he's still controllable. So I think it would be
he's controllable and has done it.
Yeah, it would be a team that's looking at him for beyond just this year, right? Like that's where that deal would come.
Here's where Vinny has value, and I agree. The value is you'd be potentially selling low. The Arizona Diamondbacks have gotten a 220, 259, 324 line from first baseman this year. They have also already shown that they will trade for a player like Vinny Pasquantino when they traded for Josh Naylor. So I think that if you're going to trade Vinny Pasquantino in season, that's the move. Otherwise, it's probably waiting for offseason if they move him at all.
Yeah. What do you think that they will actually get done?
I think you're going to here. I'll pull up the roster so I don't miss anybody. It won't be hard. I think they're going to trade Lane Thomas, and I think he'll bring back. It'll be fine. It won't be anything special, but it'll be fine. He's shown he's actually hit a lot better since he's been playing every day, which I think makes him a little more valuable. But I think they'll try to move Marte. There was a market at some point. I haven't heard much lately, so I think they'll try to move him. I think they'll move Schreiber. I know they're going to move Schreiber. They're going to try to move Strom. I think they're going to try to move Alex Lang, but I think their valuation of him is higher than it should be, in my opinion. So I think that's what'll happen. And I think they wanted to move Kyle Isbell, or would have been willing to, but he's just not going to be back. So it's going to be the rentals. There might be one surprise. Like last year, they traded Freddie Fermin, and we talked about it on the Thursday podcast before. That okay, this is a guy who could go if somebody surprising is going to go. I don't see that this year. So,
how about this one? This is a good question. Matt says, "How does the threat of a work stoppage impact trade decisions?"
I don't think it does.
I don't know. You don't think it does at all?
They think about it. I don't know about you. I haven't talked to anybody who thinks there's actually going to be significant missed time. So most people there's going to be a lockout 100%. The owners will lock the players out on December 1st at midnight or whatever day, December 2nd, whatever it is. That'll happen. But everybody I've talked to says, yeah, if they miss games, it'll be like 12. So I don't think they're all that worried about it, honestly.
I think I'm trying to think who the lockout would hurt more. Like what team gets hurt more by a lockout? I'm just trying to see, is there an advantage? You know, somebody, because if no one gets hurt worse, then it doesn't really matter.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're a team that, I have to look this up, but if there's a team that's got a lot of guys coming off the books in 27, gearing up for one more run, they get hurt pretty hard.
By the way, this is actually a very good question by Cotman as well, where he says, do the minors strike too? Because they are part of the same union now.
That is a good, I don't remember because that came up in the last lockout. I'll have to look that up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I think we got some work to do. Like that's what I hear there.
Clearly, we have been assigned work.
Yeah, got some things we need to figure out. Listen, if you are trying to figure out your parking lot, Gann Asphalt and Concrete can do that for you for over 30 years. They've been helping Kansas City businesses maintain safe, professional-looking properties, whether you need asphalt, paving, crack sealing, concrete repairs, or parking lot striping. Gann delivers quality work you can trust. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Get a free estimate going right now. And our friends, Renee was in the chat room tonight from Italian Delight, the fine proprietor of their first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. Strombolis, calzones, sausage rolls, hot and cold subs, their famous lasagna, chicken Alfredo, daily lunch specials starting at under $10 just a few miles east of Kansas Speedway on State Ave, 8145 State Ave, online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro. Oh, by the way, wanted to mention, we're probably going to be going a little bit early next week. We're going to go right after the Royals game is, I think, what our plan is next Sunday. So make sure that you just follow your Twitter. I'll have it out there on Twitter. But we're going to go early next Sunday with the Kaufman Corner podcast. David Lesky, Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.